And welcome to the 11th Symposium of Architecture, 3000, 4000, 5000, and Education of the Future. And today, yes, we are in Singapore. We have the honor, we are so pleased to have with us architect Priya Daniel, and she is a founding principal of 5-Scale Design in Singapore. And she's an expert on green architecture, so we are very eager to listen to you. Dear Priya, would you like to introduce yourself and your practice? And thank you for your time and welcome.
Thanks, Naomi, for having me. It's a pleasure. I've been looking forward to this. And so, yeah, I think you gave a bit of an introduction, but yes, my name is Priya Daniel, and I am the founding principal of 5-Scale Design, which is an architectural, interior, and an urban design practice based in Singapore.
And what about your background? How long have you been involved in sustainable architecture design? You have such an interesting career.
I spent my childhood in Muscat, Oman, which is in the Middle East. I grew up appreciating nature and being surrounded by the beaches, the mountains, and what I would call a very low-rise, uniform city with really robust buildings. And I went on later to live in more denser cities like Mumbai, Dubai, London, and now I'm in Singapore. Throwing it back many years ago, I can now remember my final year dissertation project at university was one based entirely on an energy efficient office building. It was set in a desert climate, and I got nominated for the Charles Correa Award for it. Wow. And that thanks, and that encouraged and made me pursue a professional qualification in energy and environmental design later. And that led to a lot of hands-on experience in major LEED rated buildings around the world. And now I just try to run my projects with sustainability at the heart of our practice.
And you're in Singapore, but you cover all Asia.
Oh, yes.
Impressive. But what about the name? It's about 5-Scale Design. Is that the name of your enterprise? Why 5-Scale?
Yes, I think we always get asked this question. I look at it as the 5 scales or proportions of the built environment, which is also the services we provide. So I would say the first 3 scales from big to small are the urban design scale, which is the cities, then the architecture scale, which is the buildings we use, the interiors, which is the spaces we use. And the 4th scale is most important, which is the human scale, which is constant in all. And we would like to add in that 5th scale, which is the emotional dimension, which really relates to the experience of a space and the wellness of a human being.
So integral. You're an holistic architect. It has to be. So that was the goal of the symposium too, to make sure it's not only a building, but people, society, green, nature, Mother Earth. I mean, architecture is involved in everything, economy. Amazing, amazing. You are the architect of the society, actually. Especially in Singapore, green mark. Now, everything is, this is a trend, and I'm glad about it. Everything has to be green, finally. But there is let's say, you are talking about, I don't even know in English, lead, lead, BREEAM or BREEAM,
BREEAM, yes,
green mark.
yes.
I mean, all that is starting. But what is the difference between all the mark, all the environment rating, I would say, system, and what is a really, according to your sustainable design, what is the difference and what would you want to share with us?
While I do believe that being code minimum or more it's already great and a step in the right direction, and rating systems do provide a very good guide and checklist for energy and environmental requirements, However, we cannot just be adding, the green bling. We cannot just be adding the green roofs, the solar panels and things. We really need to design to see the actual positive change these elements really create in the surrounding environment. So we must aim to keep in mind these ecological drivers and design approach that puts in factors like regeneration, recovery, resilience. So in a nutshell, I would say we shouldn't just be thinking about energy efficient buildings, but also designing buildings that generate more energy than they can even consume.
Wow, that's the goal.
That's that push we need to do over and above the rating systems.
Would you mind if we share the pictures? You say when we were talking about when you were involved into sustainability, and I know you got a reward as well, right? Mm-hmm. Can we see the pictures now? This picture, right? Mm-hmm. Let me see if I can see. Yeah, we can see it bigger. Yes. Can we go back to this part of the interview, because this is so interesting, so you can develop a little bit more and share with us about this, all about this energy conservation and what you did.
Yes. And this was in, I think it was one of the articles that were published about this design and this award. It was a very simple design that had minimum impact on the environment and to use a lot of ambient energies from around the region. It was a office headquarters. So office buildings consume a large amount of energy. What I tried to do, this was, while I was in university, create this very high performance envelope that's responsive and reacts to even the solar energy, because it was set in a desert climate. So there was a lot to tap on, and using wave energy from the sea because it was right along the waterfront. And there was a lot of integration of the user experience and trying to avoid sick building syndromes. And a lot of people do this now. It's become very evident in most projects around the world that focus on sustainable design. But I think for the time back then, it was, I would consider a little bit novel because it was many years ago.
When was it?
It was around 2007.
Mm-hmm. So you were the pioneer, huh?
This is something that I was, I think, interested in at the time.
Is that the main building?
Yes. And those days we had to physically make models.
Oh, I found it here. So she was nominated for the Charles Correa Gold Medal for this work. Wow. What about this one?
So having a very contextual story with the leaves and the louvers had come from the desert palms of the region. The whole biomimicry part of it, like trying to imitate nature, but also have a performance and a functional element to it. And the reason why I had rotated these floor plates, because office floor plates tend to be very deep. So these spiral light well got light into a deeper area. So that would reduce electricity load.
Wow, so cool. Yeah. So cool.
So there was a study done in terms of the angle of the sun as well, to avoid the low angle. So it was those kind of thoughts that informed this design.
I love it. Yeah. I love it.
Thank you. It brings back good memories from the past.
What is an Islamic screen to harness the sun?
In Arabic, it's called the mashrabia, which is a patterned screen which filters light and filters wind coming in to the building. So it's almost like, catching the daylight and not the sunlight. So it's kind of like
by the windows.
Yes. And also this entire screen that we were trying to create was, some kind of pattern, but we used a natural form that was evident within the area, which is the desert palms form of the leaf, and to use those negative spaces as the areas where you would draw in these natural elements. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And this project was by Muscat?
Yes.
Well, congratulations for this project. I'm not surprised you got the prize for that. Well, we will have more pictures. I promise we will do a part 2. So people stay with us. So interesting. But we have more questions for you. how do you convince the client to go beyond a project?
Most of the clients, when they hear anything to do with green architecture or sustainability, the initial response is, obviously that it might be more costly or it might be more tougher to do. And they refrain from it. But I think it's our job to prove and convince them that it can be done if it's really thought through in the right way. So what we do is in our projects, we usually use these simulation softwares to analyze the energy. We give them the numbers, we give them the figures to actually show how a particular solution could reduce a cost for them. So they compare. So in this way, we could pre-value engineer the project right from even the design phase. And this would, in the later stage, save them money during the construction phase. At the end of the day, it's more about the value than the price point. It's very important also try to be a motivator rather than a lecturer. Give clients small actionable steps in the right direction, but still keeping their values, goals, and of course, budgets in mind.
Yeah, actually.
Yes.
The question of the million, everybody is asking, but if I go green, is it affordable? It's going to cost me a fortune. Is it true? Is it not true?
I think it's a myth that it's expensive to do it, because a lot of people think that materials are not available, systems are not available. But I think there has been a lot of demand over the past years, and definitely with the rise in demand, everything becomes cheaper. Say LED bulbs, right? LED bulbs were much more expensive earlier, but now everyone wants it. It's so available. It's easy to incorporate it into your buildings or houses. And I think it's more about engaging the client and making them understand how it could be done early on in the process and how this could reap benefits for later. I can give you another example. When designing buildings, the air conditioning and lighting are always a major cost. This takes a lot of real estate space, as well as increases the cost of the electricity and power backup systems. But if we do a very green design approach, we would design the building envelope, the basic facade, in a very high performance way that would really reduce this dependency on any kind of air conditioning and lighting. And this would really bring down the operational costs in the long run.
Yeah, in the long run, we have to think about that. And in well-being, in cost of electricity, AC, definitely. I know some buildings, they go to zero cost.
Yes, so that's the aim, to be net positive.
You even say not even zero cost, you can produce more energy.
Based on the challenges on site, but I think the aim should definitely be in that direction, yes.
Definitely material gets cheaper and cheaper as well with time. What will make a material, if it is or not, green?
Yes, it really depends on if the material is even locally sourced, locally available. And we would also look at a green material as being recyclable or has content made from recyclable materials. And durability is very important. And the entire process of how they're manufactured also should be a factor of how a material is green or not.
Do you have a couple of examples, maybe?
So so even within the range of steel, there is green steel and not green steel. So this is very specific to the contents. Like recycled steel is much more green than actual steel. This would be another conversation altogether to define each material. It's really the way it's made, the location of where it's being brought from, the performance it's giving. It's more about the specifics of that material and how it's used.
Yes, of course, because if I have a green material, but I have to bring it over from the other end of the world, in the transportation.
Exactly. So we need to really consider all the factors that bring it together. Yes.
That's great. That's a good leap forward for architecture and for the society in general, to be conscious. It's about consciousness too, of all those, it's not details, it's very important, all those facets, issues of anything we do.
Shift our mindsets in a way.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's a big shift. I'm
Yes,
so
I think.
glad to see that. I'm so glad. That's what we put education here, because education has a lot to do to introduce.
Yeah, so the first
constant
step is awareness.
of these
Yes.
paradigms. Oh, great, great. The concept of circular should be brought to all the economic system.
Right. Yes.
So everything we do, we should think circular now.
Yeah, think circular, and it's all about even the material life cycle, even the cycle of the entire building, the way we use it. Can it be repurposed later? Can it be even economically? Is it generating more jobs around the area?
That's so interesting. Because in education too, now we talk about circular education, when you learn something and you give back to your peers, or you
to
are
community.
in high school and you teach kids in primary school, you always give back, and it's really circular. I think it's finally we will have a circular society after. I know as 5-scale design, you have a specialty with biourbanism and eco-smart cities, something like that. To close up the interview, would you like to mention what you do with the cities concept design?
At urban level, we try to learn from examples of Singapore itself. I mean, it's known as one of the greenest cities in Asia. And what truly makes
the word.
Yeah, in the world, and it's what truly makes this achievement spectacular is we're a very land and resource scarce city, but even with this rapid urbanization, we're still livable and green, still trying to weave nature within the entire city and trying to maximize on softscape, even though it cannot be done on the ground. It can also be applied, multi-level, sky core, mid-level terrace gardens, and traffic control as well, having a very integrated public transport system. So you have a lesser reliance on cars and transit-oriented developments where you have your office spaces and livable spaces in different community-centric towns to avoid that need for travel and smart centric based system that we need to apply as cities grow and the environment gets worse.
That's so interesting. I promise I will visit Singapore.
Oh yes, would love to host you when you're here next.
You have to see
travel gets
that it's
easier.
possible. And we stay for part 2 because we have pictures we want to share with everybody. And before we go to part 2, would you like to give us your message to the architects around the world?
I would just say that we need to focus on creating spaces that really inspire and delight. If we focus on that, everything else, your intentions and everything fall into place. Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Naomi, for having me. It was a great conversation.
Yes, and I would suggest everybody to play again the whole interview and take notes. I have my old book.
It's very nice, the things that you're doing, and I like your entire forum. And it's a very good resource for learning new things about all the academia they are involved in.
Thank you for your time and to share all this knowledge. I'm sure we all are taking notes, and not only to listen to you, but to apply everything. Thank you so much. And
Thank you,
we immediately see you.